Welcome to the Modernize or Die Podcast, CFML News Edition, where we keep you up to date with everything going on in the Cold Fusion community. We'll share the latest news on events, releases to engines, frameworks, libraries, and tools, as well as spotlighting quality content from the community. Welcome back to another Modernize or Die Podcast. It is episode 183. We're up to 183. Can't believe it. Time just flies, doesn't it? And of course, I'm late to update my little date thing again, so I'll fix that. It is February.
Okay. Well, he's doing that. I'll entertain. What is that famous joke? Time flies like an arrow. All right, what is it?
No idea.
Fruit flies like a banana. The Groucho Marx. Sorry. Anyway.
Yep.
Today is February 7th, 2023. It is episode 183. As Gavin said, while he is correcting the date, my name is Dan, and I'm here with the senior developer, one of the senior developers at Ortus Solutions, Gavin Pickin.
Thanks for having me as I try to fix
Not a
my
problem.
mess up.
We just kind of changed roles there for about 10 seconds, and now I'm going to give it back. Enjoy.
Yep. So enough with this monkey business. So thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks to those in the chat. We got a few people. Uncle Jazz, David Ballinger. So good to see you guys. Anyone else, say hi if you're there. And first let's thank our sponsors, Ortus Solutions, the makers of ColdBox, CommandBox, ForgeBox, TestBox, and all your other favorite boxes out there. And we always start off this way as our little advertising, sponsoring ourselves. But a few ways you can say thanks back to Ortus Solutions are, run away.
You can say like and subscribe our videos on YouTube, much like this one. And as we already said, there's 182 more that you can watch too. We can help Ortus reach for the stars. We can star and fork our repos on GitHub. Excuse me. You can do that with CommandBox. We have an automatic module that'll do that. It's the CommandBox GitHub module, which will automatically go through and star your dependencies, not just for Ortus, but for everybody. We can subscribe to the podcast on your podcast app, Spotify, Apple Music, or whatever it is you use to listen. Set up for a free or paid account on CFCasts. It's releasing new content every week. We also have a Box Life store, which has some really, they're fun. They're really well done logos, and some are puns and some are good, but I mean, not some puns. Some are puns and some are just basic. It's Ortus, but it's also general programming stuff, not just that. So check it out. That's at the go to the website and check out the Box Life section. We also have a couple books that you can get. The 102 ColdBox HMVC Quick Tips and Tricks on Gumroad, which is located at gum.co, which is Gumroad, obviously, /ColdBox-tips. And we have the Learn Modern Cold Fusion CFML in 100 minutes. It's currently free online, but we're also moving to getting an ebook or a paper copy that you can get, and that's in the works as well.
Yep, so a few different ways you can say thanks back there, and they all help, little things like stars or reviews all help with the algorithms of the respective platforms, so that's why we appreciate it so much. And it seems like we got Gary Knight in the chat, and Scott Steinbeck, and Charlie Earhart, and Grant Copley, as well as David Ballinger and Uncle Jazz. I'm still not sure who Uncle Jazz is, but we'll go from there. So, hi.
We actually are starting a new contest. If by the end of the podcast you can guess who Uncle Jazzy actually is, we'll give a shout out here on the podcast. Well done.
Yep. Obviously, we also want to thank our Patreon supporters. It's great to see a few of them already in the chat, and for those listening at home as well. So our first goal with our Patreon is to get enough funding to support this Modernize or Die podcast and the other variations, and we are currently doing that. We have 42 Patreons providing 100% of the funding, and our second goal is to try and fully fund the hosting of ForgeBox.io, which is our package management server, and all the S3 costs of storing and downloading lots of great goodies from ForgeBox. And we're 37% of the way there, so that's nice. We really appreciate all of you, and we'll shout out our top patrons at the end of the show and talk about a few of the perks that you might get becoming a patron.
Yep, and there's a bunch.
Yep. So let's talk about some news and announcements. What's up first?
Well, the first thing we have is a kind of important one. So there's an authentication bypass vulnerability that was announced this week in Mura CMS and in the open source version of that, which is Masa CMS. Right now, it's a preliminary security advisory, but it says multiple versions of Mura and Masa contain an authentication bypass vulnerability that can allow an unauthenticated attacker to log in as many site member or system user, or log in as any site member or system user. Sorry, it's a prelim security advisor being shared so that anybody can actually update and patch as needed, and more technical details will be released on March 6th. But in the meantime, if anyone hearing this, I would recommend upgrading to the latest fixed version. And there's more information on the Adobe website, coldfusion.adobe.com/2023. It's in the chat, /01/Mura CMS.
Yep. So there's some recommendations here, and Brian Riley announced it. And one of the big things is if you don't do it by that date, a lot of times people release like kitties, script kitties or whatever they call them, to basically jump out there. And so at that date and time, it usually gets a lot more dangerous. So it may not be that bad right now, but watch out, because it can get a lot more dangerous at that point.
Basically, they publish how you can use it. And so, like, script kiddies are people, right? Basically, like, they run, like, basically they say, hey, use this script and you can break into whatever you want.
Yep.
And kids that have no idea what they're doing will run that because it's fun.
Yeah,
right?
that's the problem is that for you to be able to figure out what to do, or why or how to test that your system's no longer ineligible, you got to like look at the system, look at these instructions, and check your system. But once you see those instructions, everybody else can do it too. So that's one of those things. So at least they give you that window. And so a lot of places do 30, 60, or 90-day warning, and they basically tell the manufacturers, hey, get this in there, fix it, but then we're going to release it. And so anyway.
Right.
Hopefully it's not the same people reporting it as the ones making the script kitties, but
yeah, that's true.
I've always wondered
playing
about
both
that.
sides of the.
Yeah.
Is there a gray hat? Like you're both a white hat and a black hat at the same time? It's kind of like a gray.
There is. And if you listen to the Darknet Diaries, the podcast, have a lot of people who are actually really bad people that they convince to turn good, and then they go chase down the people that they used to help. It's pretty interesting, some of their stories and whatever, but they definitely talk about a lot of this type of, they'll report vulnerabilities, take the bounty, and then they'll create a script kiddie and then sell it to people to basically take advantage of it. Crazy stuff.
Extortion.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah.
That's kind of why some people don't like the whole advisory thing. But it gets the information out. People get more secure if they act quickly. So make sure you do.
True. For sure.
So the State of the Union has been released. So this year, the 2023 version is out. We talked a lot about the 2022 version last year, obviously, but the State of the Union is now out. So you guys can start filling that out. And I'll share my screen real quick for it because there are a lot of cool things, and we do a lot of work. Michaela over at TerraTech is the one that actually runs it, but Brad and I have been, helping with different bits and pieces, and they take feedback from the community. And so you can see there's a lot of updates to this. So they try and keep it up to date, try to add, more of the different responses. And you can also write in responses too. So if there's a lot of people writing in responses for certain questions, they'll actually incorporate that next time. So again, there's lots of pages you can go through, but it talks about different things. So I got to answer before I can skip to the next page, obviously. But
Gotcha.
there's 8 pages. It's still pretty quick. It's all multiple choice. Bing, bing, bing. It'll ask you about your Cold Fusion development, maybe your IDE stuff, some of the plugins you're using, talk about JavaScript environments and other things, and where you host, and all sorts of stuff like that. So it's really important for a lot of people. I mean, I'm sure Adobe and Lucy look at this. I know Ortus looks at this for how to decide to design better tools or update tools. So it does mean a lot. And remember, share it with your other developer friends so they can fill it out too, because it's important we get as many as we can filling it out. Like, for example, we get about 500 to 600 filling this out every year. The JavaScript version, they get about 28,000 people filling it out. So the more people, the more information, So 500 people is good, but if we get more people to fill it out, we can have a better representation of what the truth really is. So.
Yeah. You're right. And the whole point about that basically is it does guide what is developed in order to make that happen. Now, it's cynical to think that maybe it's just a marketing piece, but by marketing, we mean is like we're developing open source projects that actually support the community. We have to know where the community is in order to do that. So it actually is a really very helpful tool.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we look at is engine support. Obviously, once the Adobe drops support for things, we want to drop support for things too. But when you look in the numbers of, like, I think previous year, even though CF11 had dropped off support, even 2 years later, it still had like 30% of people still using it or something. So,
wow.
It makes people's decisions, they have to take that into consideration. That's a pretty big number to be just dropping support for people.
That is a big number.
But yeah, so I don't know what it is. I have to go watch the video I recorded with Michaela about those numbers for last year. But anyway, what's up next, Dan?
Cool. All right. So also coming up, speaking of Adobe, is the CF Summit East, just announced. Thursday, April 6, 2023. That's a one-day event, obviously. It's from 8 to 4 at the Marriott Marquis in Washington, D.C. There's complimentary breakfast and lunch will be provided. And basically, it's Adobe talking about Cold Fusion and what's happening and all kinds of exhibitors and everything else. I've been a couple times. It's good.
Okay, I've never been to the East one, but I know that with the 2023 coming out this year, they're going to have a lot of cool features and insights and stuff. So I think that's going to be a pretty cool one. And then we also
been to the East? Oh, okay.
Nope, never been that far. So, but yeah,
really?
So I haven't made it out there for that. I've seen road shows and a couple other ones on the site, but not over there.
The reason why I said I'm surprised is I went to a training one time that Brad was doing on Command Box, and for some reason I thought that I'd met you for like 2 seconds there. This was before I was with Ortus, before I was doing anything, but I was obviously mistaken.
Not at that one, but okay. Just a quick reminder too that we do have a ColdBox developer group up on LinkedIn, and there is an Ortus developer. There's a Cold Fusion developer group on Facebook as well, and there's a couple other things. But the ColdBox developer group, there's quite a few people in there. We want to just remind you that it is there. If you guys want to jump in and talk some ColdBox up there on LinkedIn, you can do that too. And then the CFML Slack Inviter app, same with the BoxTeam. Basically, once Heroku's free tier went away, both of the Inviter apps sort of stopped. So CFML Slack has already set up their little redirect. Ortus is working on their one right now. So if you go to cfml-slack.net, it'll redirect you to a Slack invite link. And the BoxTeam one should be there soon. It will be boxteam.ortussolutions.com, I believe. We just need to get the redirect set up to go to our version. So hopefully all you guys are on the BoxTeam Slack already, so it's not important. But we are going to get that out there as well. But yeah, so we lived off Heroku free for a long time. So we can't complain. So thanks, Heroku. But yeah, they got rid of. Well, there's something in there that required a little bit more than the free tier. So no more.
Gotcha. That makes sense. Yeah, it's true. It's kind of hard to complain when you've been getting so much for free.
Yeah, like, 6 years for free. Can't complain.
I'll take it. Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. So going along with the whole community theme, we have the chats, we have the LinkedIn group, like we just said, we have the community up in Summit East. We also have the Ortus community forum, and we've just integrated chat into that as well. The community forum recently got an update. It includes a chat feature, and that is at community.ortussolutions.com. I switched the order of two things to go along with the community, but also in case you missed it, we talked about last week. This isn't so much community, but it's just kind of a general information sharing for yourself. Is that Command Box has a new feature where you can sync your settings between different through your ForgeBox account, and your settings will basically be with you on different machines as you log into ForgeBox. And this is a manual process, not automatic. So if you choose to do this, you can. But basically, you can sync all your settings, everything else up to ForgeBox, go onto a new machine, log in, bring them down, and you're set up like you were before, which is really handy.
Yeah, it's pretty neat when you've got some keys and everything stored in the command box settings. If you've got some things there, you can just sync them. So very cool. So
I'm looking around and I have like 2 or 3 computers that are just sitting there closed and turned off because they've been retired, but I have stuff that's on them. It'd be really nice to be able to go back and do that.
Yep. Okay, so new releases and updates. We have a FusionReactor update, so 9.2.1 update released, and Charlie has a nice little blog, talked about the main changes. A couple of bug fixes, including one where you may need to add a JVMR to prevent an error. And he has more information on that there, but I guess bugs fix the total requests, the last 60 seconds amount in the web metrics page. I guess there's an issue with that. It also fixes the snapshots no longer being sent to the cloud, which is an issue. And then there's an improvement. So add a property to disable CF query monitoring for the Redis cache when it's properly set to false and set true by default. So yeah, it looks like they've made a few changes there and got that out. And so Charlie's blog post goes into a lot more detail. So definitely check that one out.
Including cloud backups. Yeah, gotcha. Cool.
Yeah, I think the snapshots is it takes all snapshots of the request so you can actually look at all the information. It's not, it's kind of interesting how they work. There's a lot of cool features. FusionReactor is awesome, and I barely used a smidge of what it can actually do. So
yeah,
highly recommend it.
Ditto.
And then what do we got next? We're gonna have a reminder.
Yep. In case you missed it, some more releases. The Ortus released CBSecurity 3 just recently. This is a significant release with over 6 months of work invested in it. They've completely revamped how the security module works to make ColdBox applications secure. It's flexible and ready for the upcoming ColdBox 7 release. So this is actually a prep for ColdBox 7 coming out, as well as fixing up stuff that was in ColdBox 6. The first major announcement with all the different features, everything from cross-site scripting to authentication to everything else. The first thing we need to talk about is the new logo. So that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, it took a little bit of voting. We had to vote on a couple of different versions. There were a whole lot of them, and yeah, it's pretty cool. There was another one I liked a little bit better, but you can't always win. But it's still pretty cool. So again,
cool.
this blog, the blog post was released right after the podcast the other week. So this goes into a lot more detail what we were talking about in the change log. So a lot more detail. Definitely worth checking out. It's a cool little library, and more get added to it all the time. And we've got other great things planned and coming soon for it too. Okay, so next
the 2-second thing on that. Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead. I was about to jump to the next section. So you finish this one.
I was going to say, for those of you that don't know what CBSecurity actually is, it's a combination of authentication, basic authentication, cross-script features, cross-script site protection. There's a built-in firewall. There's some firewall features built in. Security headers. There's a visualizer, so you can actually see all the different rules that you've put together. And so really, it's a lot of pieces that are brought together into one tool that make your site a lot more secure. That's just kind of like the quick background about what CBSecurity is for our new guys.
Yep, and there is JWT stuff in there too, which
yes,
because there's a lot of people looking for that. That is in there as well. And so okay. Next up, webinars, meetups, and workshops. And so a reminder, check out the Google Calendar that we have for Ortus events. We'll share the link, and that's in the show notes as well. And remember, Ortus Fridays are back in full effect. So last week, the first Friday of the month, we had our Ortus office hours, and that was a really good one. Grant and Michael and Daniel were in there. And did you jump into that one? There was a couple of Ortus people too. Yep. So a lot of good stuff going on there. So check that one out. That is not recorded because we want to have people ask questions openly, and so we're not recording those so that way no one has to worry about their stuff being recorded. It's just open conversation, questions, looking to issues or just advice. And then this week we have the Software Craftsmanship Book Club, February the 10th at 2 p.m. Central. And so that's going to be a Patreon exclusive. So if you're a Patreon member, you can join us for that. We'll be putting the link in the special Patreon Slack channel and the Patreon forum up on the Ortus community, so you guys can jump in there. And we're going to be covering Chapter 3. So looking more into the Clean Code book by Uncle Bob Robert Martin. Great book. The 2 previous sessions are up on CFCasts, so go check those out. Even if you're not a Patreon member, you can see those. So they're pretty cool. And then February webinar is coming up in a couple of weeks. It's hopefully going to be February the 17th, and we're hoping that Luis will confirm because he's got an interesting calendar. So we're trying to get him to do a CBSecurity run through, show us all the new features, all the cool stuff that's been done to CBSecurity 3. So that's the plan. We'll let you know as soon as we confirm. Calendars can be fun. He's a busy man, but I know he's done a lot of work on CBSecurity 3 and he wants to show it off. So that's what we're trying to do. Sorry, I read through your entire section there, but that's okay.
Nah, it's totally fine. Go along with it. So we do have a bunch of we mentioned CFCasts a couple times. So if you don't know what that is, Ortus has a whole online library of materials from past conferences, other conferences, webinars, teaching, sessions, all kinds of stuff that we've aggregated. A lot of it's content from us, but also from the community. At CFCasts, we have free and paid subscriptions. And here's some recent releases. For example, the ForgeBox, we have a segment here on the podcast, the ForgeBox module of the week, which obviously is a module, a ColdBox or a Cold Fusion, General Cold Fusion module from ForgeBox. We have one new video this week, which obviously is being up to date. That's a series. We also have the series, the VS Code tip and trick of the week. I am not having a good, enunciation day today. Let's try that again. VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week series.
I know. I'm the only one that seems to say it all the time because I'm the one that wrote it. So everyone else is like, why did you do that to us? Tongue twisters.
Exactly.
Yeah, but we do have we do have a lot of videos coming soon. We're working on Brad's Command Box series. We're hoping to get it out for this week, but we're waiting for the new logo for the series and a few other things. So we're really close. So hopefully before next week, you'll have the first few videos from Brad's Command Box, the Mastering Command Box series. So that'll be coming out. And we have some more ForgeBox and VS Code podcast snippet videos. And then Grant is working on a series from CB Wire, and so he has a poll that we're going to share in the chat. If you guys can go and sort of tell him some of the things you're looking for. ColdBox Elixir is going to be worked on by Eric. A lot of content box content is being requested, and so Daniel Garcia is going to be working on a series about that. And I have my boxifying third-party library. So lots of content we're in process of, and like I said, Brad's stuff is about to hit the screen very, very, very soon. We're hoping to get that started. You may even see some later this week. So fingers crossed. So lots of great content again. CFCasts.com, free and paid content, and go check it out. Conferences and training. Sorry.
Yeah, also coming up this week, nothing to do with Ortus necessarily, but there's the Vue.js Amsterdam 2023, as we transition away from CFCasts. That is the 9th and 10th of February, so it starts on Thursday and Friday. That's in Amsterdam. It is the world's most special and largest Vue conference. So hopefully there's some... is there an online option, do we know?
I don't think so. It's a pretty pricey one, too. I'm not sure if they're going to have videos recorded after the fact or not.
Gotcha.
But it is happening this week, so if you're thinking about going, you better hurry.
Cool.
But we also have GitHub Galaxy, which apparently was formerly known as GitHub In Focus, but it's new.
Galaxy is a much better name.
Yeah, is new and reimagined version of it. So save the date for a global enterprise event focused on improving efficiency, security, and developer productivity. So the virtual registration will be starting real soon. But the cool thing is they actually have these VIP summits. So you can join them in person at a summit near you. So they'll have certain big cities probably will have like special on-site things where you can go do breakout sessions, networking, and sort of join all those enterprise leaders. And then they have the keynotes and stuff from on the big screen and stuff like that. So it's kind of a cool thing. They call them like satellite conferences for some of the big conferences as well. They'll do that. So yeah, that's GitHub Galaxy, and so if you're a GitHub Galaxy like enterprise user or a power user, this could have some really good stuff for you. So we should have that coming soon.
Gotcha. I forgot to put the link up there.
Okay, and then we have Dev Nexus coming up next, right, Dan?
Dev Nexus, yep, it's coming up in April 4th through 6th. That's in Atlanta at the Georgia World Congress Center. Which is on International Boulevard. The website is devnexus.com. Gavin just pasted it in there. And that's a fairly big conference as well, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a ton of tracks. I think they got 10 or 15 tracks and just so many sessions. Wow. It's crazy. And like I said, we've had Brad and Luis who spoke at the last couple, but this year the only one that we know from the Ortus, sort of the Ortus CFML community, is Charlie Earhart. So he's going to be speaking there, but we've got a few of the Ortus people. They're fighting over who gets to go, so there'll be some of them attending as well. So you get to hang out with some Ortus people, and they don't just have Java stuff, and that's what it's based around, but obviously JavaScript stuff as well, build, CI/CD stuff. There's a lot of stuff related, Docker and everything. But if you want to get a taste of some of the Java stuff or an idea of how they do things, it's really neat. Brad and Luis learn a lot from the other frameworks and things and bring it back to CFML land. So pretty cool. And then next up in May, we have Vue.js Live. So May 12th and 15th, 2023. It's going to be online and in UK. So the 12th is in person in London, and then on the 15th is a repeat. So they do some of the sessions again. They do all the online stuff, and they're hoping to get 10,000 plus joining online. So that's a pretty crazy number. But Vue.js is hot. It's catching up on the React and everything else. As you can see, we got 3 or 4 conferences we listed already. I think there's still one more on the list too. So lots of great, cool things coming. So another one for you there. But remember, if you're going to be at the in person on the 12th, they might have to catch a plane pretty quick to get back to Houston, right? Because Into the Box 2023 is coming up next.
Starts right after that. So that was Vue.js Live is done on the 15th. So basically, yeah, like you said, jump in a plane, head to Houston. Into the Box, the 10th edition, the 10th year we've had this, is from May 17th to the 19th. Held in the Woodlands, which is just north of Houston, Texas. Continuing our tradition of training, offering pre-conference hands-on workshops, which will be announced one day in the near future. There's a training day on the 17th, and the chat is raucously cheering about this. All right, David said yay, but we'll go with raucously cheering because it sounds better.
Yep. The call for speakers did close. Sorry, go ahead.
Mm-hmm. No, go ahead. It's all you.
I was going to say, yeah, the call for speakers has closed, and we are working on getting that information out to you. We had a meeting already. We're having another one here pretty soon. And I actually have a sneak peek. Maybe I can give you guys this. If you want to tell me a little bit more about it, I'm going to try and pull up the possible workshops. We got a few of them that we've decided on. So
cool. All right. Well, the link to the thing is intothebox.org. Definitely want to check it out. And I know in the past we've actually done different surveys or Twitter feeds or whatever else. Basically, people kind of putting out different sessions that, hey, we're considering these 3 to 4 different ones, and may have people vote on what they actually want to see. Are we doing that again this year?
Well, that's what we're thinking about doing, because we've got 5 workshops that we're going to offer, and we've decided on 4 pretty much already. We might fine tune them a little bit. So these are the 4 we've decided on, but the 5th one, we've got like 10 other ones we got to decide on, figure out which the last one should be, because lots of great ideas. But we've got one of them that's going to be building a REST API for the modern developer. Another one will be reactive front ends with CFML, CBWire, and Alpine.js.
Okay.
Which will be Grant going to be leading that one. CBWire is on fire lately. And there'll be a test box getting started with BDD, TDD testing, so more practical testing and actually how to get started and how to go from started to more. And then there's going to be a full stack build, deploy, log, and monitor your web applications. So that's a lot more of the, once you've got your app, how do you get it deployed, and then how do you log it and monitor it to make sure it's doing what it should be, stays performant, no issues, etc. So that should be a pretty good one. So
that is a good one.
Yeah, and so then we've got a lot of other options, like last year, people were saying, what about the quick one? What about QB? What about, other things? We have, command box always gets, can we do command box this? Can we do command box servers? My Vue.js and like Quasar one was popular last year, and then your legacy code conversion was really good last year, and then the asynchronous programming, a lot of people see good things about that, and there's so a lot of cool things, and so let us know what you want the 5th workshop to be. So a lot of four really good ones there. We'll get those in up on the website very soon. But yeah, it's exciting. And the 10th edition, we are going to do some special stuff, right? I mean, we're back at the same one we were last year. It was a great venue, awesome food, nice weather.
I like that.
Yeah, so we're excited. We're trying to do some extra stuff too. So instead of just the dinner and the mariachi band, we're going to try and, make it a little more interactive. We might have some hackathons and throw some stuff in there. So it's going to be fun. We're going to make it super fun. So you have to join us. And the 10th edition, it's going to be, a really big deal. So thanks everyone for supporting the previous ones. Come back and support us in the 10th.
Yeah,
okay.
Should be a good time.
So VueConf.us, another one. See, in New Orleans they've got Jazz, Code, and Vue. And so is Uncle Jazz? Is that because of the Jazz and the VueConf.js? I don't know. But VueConf.us is going to be happening May 24th for the workshop, and then May 25th and 26th. So you can have fun in Houston, then fly home, say hi to the family, and then fly back out to Florida. Or sorry, not Florida, New Orleans. The other one, the other Vue conference is Florida. Man, too many. But that looks like another fun one as well. Lots of great Vue stuff. And then in June, what do we got?
We're heading back over to Europe. We have CF Campus coming up. And I will have the details in that 1 second. My entire browser, everything just froze up, including all my notes. So CF Camp, I'm back. And there we go. June 22nd and 23rd. That's the Marriott Hotel at the Munich airport, which evidently is nowhere close to the airport. So very badly named, I suppose. Anyway, the call for speakers is now open. That's located at papercall.io /CF Camp 2023. Putting the link in the chat. I have never been, but I would imagine it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, Brad and Luis have been several times. I know a few of the other people. Jorge, obviously, it's just a little jump over the fence for him. But yeah, so it's a great conference. A lot of cool stuff there. Excited to have it back. And just in case you're thinking about doing an Olin and submitting like 30 topics, they do have a maximum of 5. So if you're going to submit a topic for the papercall.io, maximum 5. So think about it carefully. Which ones do you want to put in there?
All right.
So, and then more conferences. If you want more, comps.tech has a lot of great stuff online and local. JavaScript and all the other languages you might consider using. So it's worth checking out. Whew, a lot of conferences, man. It really is coming to conference season. But let's talk about blogs, tweets, and videos of the week. And what do we got up first? I think it's our favorite little bin, right?
Yeah, we got a bunch. So Ben actually has some really cool stuff. Like, I never know. I just learned so much about even what exists by reading Ben's blogs. So when I read this, I thought it was really interesting. It says Ben Nadell rendering a local timestamp with stimulus using Hotwire and Lucy. And I had to go through and figure out what all those things were. So the quick background is that Hotwire is very similar to Livewire. So both of them have to do with rendering HTML over the wire from a website. Basically, instead of pinging your API and getting JSON back and having your front end do all the rendering and everything else, Hotwire and Livewire, two different JavaScript libraries that will call back. You can make whatever HTML you do on your server, whether it be from an HTML page or from a CFM page. Then it comes back up and it will actually render in the browser the HTML, not the JSON. That way you're actually using whatever page you want to actually create your HTML, which is great for us because we can use Cold Fusion language to actually build the sites. Now, at first I was really confused by this because I'm like, is Ben just recreating CBWire? But no, it actually is two different technologies. CBWire is based on Livewire, and Ben's playing around with Hotwire. So just as a little background for that. But of course, with that comes a lot of different tech issues and stuff. Everything from like how the data's you would normally have something that was delivered as data on JSON that you can get them processed. You have to actually do all the formatting and stuff back on the browser and stuff, or on the server. So he's talking through about how to use things like TurboDrive, where to go, TurboDrive mixing with Hotwire, mixed with all kinds of stuff. So the blog was interesting, especially just knowing what all the different technologies are. We had two from him that I'm just going to kind of lump together a little bit. One had to do with timestamps. And then one had to do with basically updating views, which was the background for the timestamps one. And the links are in there, and they're worth. It was a really interesting read to look through it all. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, and like we discussed last week, Live View is the Phoenix, which is Elixir language. Phoenix is the framework. Live View came out, and then Livewire is the PHP through Laravel. So that's that one, and then obviously the Hotwire is the Ruby on Rails implementation based on Ruby, and so they're all slightly different and they do slightly different things. But it's kind of interesting how they have the state on the front and they send the state to the back and we get some more stuff, send it to the front, and then do all their optimization. So it is pretty neat. It's pretty cool, and the funny thing is this is like just another step. After Vue and React, and now doing server-side rendering, now we're doing more of these Livewire type things, and then coming up like Astro and Quick, the JavaScript framework, a lot of those are doing this type of thing, but they're doing like just-in-time template rendering from the server to the browser. They're doing all sorts of crazy stuff. It's getting pretty nuts. Like, it's not the old JavaScript we grew up on, that's for sure.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
And that stimulus, I'd never heard of that. I was reading along with Ben's stuff, Hotwire, and then he brings up stimulus, and that's because it doesn't do everything. You need a little bit of JavaScript to do the rest, and so stimulus is something that helps. And yeah, so obviously we need to do some homework. But yeah, I like the fact that Grant's doing a great job with CBWire, and that's how I'm learning it, because he's got it all working in ColdBox, and it's really easy to use, and it's pretty neat. So
that is cool. One of the things I actually teach a college class, and one of the things we usually do the first week is I just have all the students that I have just brain dump everything they've ever heard about web tech into one big pile, and we start separating it out. This is a model language. This is a Vue language. This is a JavaScript framework. This is used for data. This is a type of database and stuff. We make this big chart, kind of separating all these things into what they do. And that's what I think was kind of cool about this. It's like, all right, Livewire, Hotwire kind of fit into this category because that has to do with basically rendering this, and having a box to put something in, at least to conceptualize what it does, is pretty handy.
That's half the battle sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, because when he started talking about Turbo and Hotwire and stuff, I was thinking like the Turbo, the builder. There's a new builder out there. It's like ESBuild and Webpack and stuff called Turbo, and I was getting them confused. I'm like, how the heck does this work together? And then I'm like, oh, they're different names.
Right.
Same name, different things. So anyway,
like Java and JavaScript.
Yep. And so we also have the blog post from Charlie about FusionReactor 2.1. We kind of covered it already, so I've just posted that. We're just going to jump over. And then we also have another one we already covered. Yep. So I got a link for the next one, which is Luis's one where we basically talked about CBSecurity. So we already talked about that too. And the next one is another news announcement that you already covered as well, right? So another reminder about the Mura CMS vulnerabilities. So we've covered a lot of them. So we've kind of talked
We
about all
believe
the
in the rule
blog
of
posts.
threes. We say something up front, then we talk about it, and then we reintroduce it, and then we say what we told you. Basically, it's really good marketing is what it is.
Yeah, so lots of the blog posts this week were news related, except for Ben's play. And again, Ben's got all that stuff up on GitHub, so go check it out. And I like it when he does those little videos. So he's got a video on that one, so that means it's even easier to consume. And then you can dive in deeper from there. Okay, well, let's move on, because next up we have the Find a Job, and this week on Get CFML Jobs we have exactly 0 new jobs. There are 48 positions listed from 29 companies, but no new jobs this week. There are some stuff in the Slack channel though, so they have a jobs channel in Slack, in the CFML Slack and the BoxTeam Slack. And last week, Brian Polikoff posted he was looking for a Cold Fusion developer. Salaries in the 120 to 150 USD for open to full-time or contract. It looked like a pretty good thing, but nothing else about the position. So I'm not sure if they've had anything more in there. Yeah. I think we already mentioned the new URL, Charlie, if you missed it.
We did, but Charlie wanted to highlight that he had a blog post about it too.
Oh, did he? Oh, I missed that one. So he must have posted it after I did the stuff this morning. So Charlie shared that link, but I'll put that in the show notes as well, so everybody else can see it. And
cool. Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie. Sorry, you probably posted it right before I did it. Yep, 3 minutes before we started the podcast, I think. So
right under the wire. That qualifies. We'll do it.
Yep. So that's should be the first one on our blog list. So I'll put that in here, and I'll add some more notes before we publish it elsewhere. But yeah, like I said, our BoxTeam one will be there soon. The CFML Slack one is already there and working. So, oh man, the URL. Okay, well, I don't know, maybe Twitter just hates me if you did post it yesterday, or you didn't tag it with one of the tags.
Twitter hates a lot of people these days.
Yeah, because I follow certain hashtags, so CFML, Cold Fusion, and several other ones, and I have RSS feeders set up, so if I miss it, I miss it. I'm sorry, but thank you, Charlie, for sharing it, and good to get it in there. Okay, so again, jobs, there are a few out there, but obviously there are a lot of layoffs happening right now too, so if you know of anyone that is hiring, please let everyone else know, because there are a lot of people looking for that. So I know there's a few in the Cold Fusion community that have lost their jobs recently, and it's one of those things that, sadly we have to deal with the economy like it is. And if you guys are looking for some advice on what to do to make yourself more prepared for layoffs, the Working Code podcast actually did a good session on what you can do to prepare yourself. And in the next episode, they actually talked about someone who actually was laid off. And so it's some interesting information. It was really nice of them to sort of share some of the vulnerabilities of that and how they're dealing with things, and some really good advice too, and some things I didn't know. And so I highly recommend checking out those Working Code podcasts. So anyway, so hopefully most of us will not have to worry about that, but for those who have, there might be some good advice there. So go check that out. Next up, though,
workingcode.dev is the website for that. I'm gonna go check that out.
Yep, workingcodepod.dev or workingcode.dev.
Workingcode.dev,
okay.
And
the Twitter must be workingcodepod. Is the Twitter handle?
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so that the actual website for the podcast would be them, and that is Adam Tuttle. It's Ben Nadell, Carol Hamilton, and Tim Cunningham are the 4 people that actually went. That's funny. Actually, this morning when I was looking at Ben's blog, how he has different people on the top. Mm-hmm. It just so happened that I think it was Carol Hamilton in the picture. So I was like, she looks familiar.
Yep, remember her from a lot of CF conferences back at CF Objective and Dev Objective and those other ones. So, yep. So they talk about a lot of stuff, not just Cold Fusion stuff, but good stuff. So
nice.
Next up, we have our ForgeBox module of the week, and you have a module that's a pretty new one, and I had to ask you a little bit about it, because when I first read it, I was like, I didn't know how to pronounce it, and then and then the first line was a simple templating tool for ColdBox apps. So I'm like, wait a minute, what type of templating? So
the name of it is UI Me. This was one of those things that was born out of like a 2 a.m. thing out of frustration. So the idea was UI as in user interface me, and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I couldn't think of a name, but So it's like the idea was I like using Bootstrap because as a developer, I have very little actually aesthetic sense. That's why I wear jeans and well, pretty much every day. And whatever. It's just one of those things I just don't want to think about. It's not really a language I speak in terms of the visual component of things. But I like using Bootstrap. I like things to look nice, but then I can also never remember what the classes are that I'm supposed to use when it happens. And so it's like, all right, I just need to be able to code these things once. And so what UIMe is, it's a module that you can include or install off of ForgeBox. And the idea is instead of actually having to remember what classes I have to do, remember to do tabs, I basically pass in a JSON object into UIMe, into the tabs component, and what comes back is a tabbed thing. Now, what's cool about that, or what I think was kind of cool about it, is that's what actually I was able to create dynamic renderings with that. So for example, I could take a view from here, render a view from here, just put it all into the JSON and then pass that in. And in a sense, I was able to create tabbed areas on the fly. I could do, simple inputs and everything else. But the big thing was not having to remember what all the different classes were.
Yeah.
And so that's what that is.
Yeah, once I saw it, I thought it was pretty dang cool. So
It's
cool.
very new and it's open to pull requests. It is by all means not even close to the entire Bootstrap library. I think it has like 5 or 6 components in it. So if anybody wants to help flesh it out, by all means, let me know.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, there's a lot of little things like that would make our life easier. Because, like you say, they're great components and everything, but you have to remember what they smell. You have to get all the right. The nesting has to be right for everything to work, and so that's pretty neat. I mean, basically. I'm just thinking even like with like some CF custom tag type stuff. Yeah, people do that sometimes just to make it easier, but cool.
I try to put in some extra classes. Like each of the components has all the Bootstrap classes, but then I put like an extra one in there that was like the UIMe tab. So if people wanted to pass in a class and kind of have their own little tweaking, because I started thinking, all right, what would Esme do in this situation? She needed to have more design situation. So all right, so I kind of put a hook in there to kind of put in some more classes or style if you want to pass in your own. But for the basics, for people like me, it works.
Yeah, that's a really cool idea. It's something new to fun to play with. And again, if someone gets something out of it and they want to add some more components, pull requests are open. So very cool. Yeah, so cool. Neat. Next up, we have our VS Code hint, tip, and trick of the week, the tongue twister galore. And this week we're going to be talking about dev containers. So Visual Studio dev containers. It's pretty neat. And so what it allows you to do is basically, as an extension, lets you connect to a Docker container as a fully featured development environment. So even if you're not using deployments with containers or whatever else, you can basically just say, hey, I want to spin up this app, and I'm going to use this Docker image, so I don't have to worry about all the different pieces of that toolchain that I need on my operating system. So I don't need to worry about installing all the different pieces that this project needs. I can just say, point at that Docker image, and then inside of it, you basically have everything you need for that one. So, you don't have to have like 5 different database servers installed on your machine. The environment can actually have the database containers running on it, so stuff like that. And there's a bunch of other little bits and pieces you may want or need. And so if I actually open up this link, I should have done that while I was talking, but I was a little slow.
Did you?
I think I sent the link, but I didn't share it. So let me share my screen now for those.
Oh, I see. Gotcha.
Yeah. So
it was amazing. I actually just did this recently. I just started not so much getting into Docker, but just like actually did a Docker project. And it was amazing to me how simple it was to pull up like a Microsoft SQL database inside of a container and attach to it. I mean, it was ridiculously simple.
Yeah, and like you see in the little video, it's just started up. It basically starts up and connects to the Rust dev container. So you don't need to worry about all the compiling installation tools you need for Rust or anything. You basically just go to the Docker file and then run it, and now it's going to run this app in Rust inside a little Docker container. It's building. There you go. It's pretty neat. Those who are listening, sorry, you can't see the visuals, but yeah.
But they're really, really good. You're missing out. Just kidding. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, so pretty easy to get set up to, and there's a lot of them out there. People are starting to do this because it's a much easier way to get up and going. And again, you can just pull it down, and a nice little feature. And I know they've had it for a while, but they've really worked on the integration for this extension to make it even easier to get going. So pretty cool. So especially if you like have one of those pretty simple laptops, you don't want to overload it with all the software. It's a great way to do it because the container can house all the heavy lifting. You don't have to worry about getting permission to install every other thing from your IT people. So
yeah, nope, that's huge.
Cool. So last but not least, we want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for all their awesomeness.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we do. These individuals are personally supporting our open source initiatives to help ensure the great toolings like CommandBox, ForgeBox, ColdBox, ContentBox, HESBox, and all the other boxes that are out there that keep getting continuous development that they need and funds. And they also help fund the cloud infrastructure that our community relies on, like ForgeBox for our package management with CommandBox. You can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/Ortus Solutions. And there's lots of ways to do that, such as...
Yep, the Patreon site, patreon.com/Ortus Solutions. And then when you do get a membership, because it's worth it, you have lots of cool perks. And remember, if you do want to pay for the year, you do save 10%, so it's always worth thinking about that. So all of our patrons get a profile badge on the community website. All the Patreon supporters have their own private forum access on the community website. And all Patreon supporters have their own private channel on the BoxTeam Slack. So those are big perks for any Patreon member. But if you have a bronze package or up, you get that ForgeBox Pro account and that CFCasts subscription. So if you add the price of that up, it's almost the same as the Patreon already. So basically, you're just getting, all this goodness, and you get your name on the plaque, essentially. So it's great. A lot of cool things in there. And then we also try and do other things for you, where we give you some sort of exclusive access. Like we try to give you access to the live streams. Like I've done Coding with the Kiwi and Friends, and then with Ortus Software Craftsmanship Book Club as well. So those are for Patreons only. So if you are a patron, you're invited to join us for those. And so those are just some of the perks that we have. And obviously, the further up you get discounts on IDB tickets and all sorts of different things. But yeah, that's a great thing. And it's just great to be able to communicate with the different members of the Patreon. And we'll try and reach out to you guys and give you more, opportunities for, access or your opinions. Maybe we'll listen to you a little more about the workshops at ITB than other people, maybe. So if you guys got any ideas, definitely throw them our way. So
not to dissuade anybody else from giving feedback. Please let us know what you want to do. For
sure. But yeah. We definitely appreciate those patrons, and it's great to see them in the real world too at conferences, OWL, CF Summit, maybe the CF Summit East, and obviously Dev Nexus and anywhere else. So it's kind of nice to catch up, and I had a great time in Vegas talking to our Patreon supporters. So very cool.
Absolutely.
So you want to thank some of our top Patreon supporters, and I'll roll out with the rest of them.
Yeah, now because the list is getting incredibly long, we've had to pare down a little bit. So we apologize for everyone that didn't make this list. We actually have two. Our top Patreons starting off, John Wilson from Synaptrix, Tomorrow's Guides, and Jordan Clark.
Yep, and we have Gary Knight, Mario Rodriguez, Giancarlo Gomez, David Bellinger, Dan Card, Jeffrey McGee from Sunstar Media, Dean Wander, Nolan Irk, and Abdul Raheen. So thank you.
And many, many more.
Yeah, many more. Again, we do have quite a few on the list, and we appreciate each and every one of you, but we just don't have enough breath and time. So we got told our podcasts are too long sometimes, so we had to draw the line. So, but thank you, all of you. And of course, you can see an up-to-date list of sponsors on the Ortus Solutions website, and the chat is going to have the link right there. And then, well, we're going to have homework, but I forgot to update that. So last week I gave homework to tell everyone to go check out the community forum and maybe play with the chat. And then Daniel said he wanted to see everybody at the office hours. So my homework for the week, I'm going to say, as a Patreon member, so Patreons, join us for the book club.
There you go.
So if you haven't read it, we're up to chapter 3 in the Clean Code book. And we're going to be meeting on Friday about that. And then, Dan, do you have any special homework you'd like to assign some people here?
I do. I think everyone's homework should be to look at the community chat on the Ortus site, and basically we're accepting nominations. No one stepped up and actually guessed who Uncle Jazzy actually was. He's going by a pseudonym. Personally, I think it's DJ Jazzy Jeff and Will Smith, kind of coming in as a joint thing, but that may not actually be the case. But check out the community chat and let us know what you think.
Yep. And John Farrar sometimes has some weird names, so it might be John. I'm not sure.
True. I was competition. Oh yeah, sorry. Maybe I didn't actually communicate that well. So basically, the competition that no one knew what was happening, Nobody won.
No.
But we'll make it ongoing.
Unless it's Adam Cameron trying to be funny, but I don't know about that. I don't know. But I guess it's a mystery. So if everyone have fun, figure that out, and we'll catch you next week. Have a good one, everybody.
Uncle Jazz, but wasn't into Dixie. He's a very complicated, multifaceted person here.
Maybe. We'll have to give him credit. So, okay. Well, thanks, everybody. You have a great week, and we'll catch you next week. Remember, book club on Friday for patrons. If you're not a patron, sign up or go watch the last couple on CFCasts. Bye, everybody.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys. Have a good week.
You too. Show notes for this episode can be found at cfmlnews.modernize.io, where you can also subscribe to your favorite podcast player like Spotify or iTunes. We also have the link to YouTube to find more videos just like this. The music used in this podcast is under a royalty-free license from Sound.com and Blue Tree Audio.